Yeah. So I think it's important to share lessons learned with your kids. I think it's very important for us to sit down with our kids and reflect on our experiences. None more important than what happened last year with COVID-19 and our government's response, whether that was at the local level, your county level, state level, or federal level. I think it's important. I want my children to remember these moments. All right. I just do. Moments in the early quarter of 2020 when the world was met with a virus and the idea of freedom was tested here in America. Now, I hear what people are going to say, like your freedoms wasn't taken, but any type of restriction is a limitation on what you can do. It's a limitation on your freedom, especially when it's done from an outside entity. So I want my children to remember these moments because 1776 is simply too far removed from our experience. We can read it in books, we can look it up on the websites, but the fact is, that's like hundreds of years ago. Our ancestors heard the call of let my people go in 1863, but it's a moment which is still removed from our generations. Even with all the thoughts and talks about critical race theory and reparations, it's still far removed. I want my children to remember these moments because in the face of sickness and the possibility of death, which is a daily thing, choices are being made, which in the long term can sow the seeds for an environment of diminished liberty. Our health is definitely important. Don't get me wrong. But remember these moments. Remember these moments as we visited our neighbors. Remember when we educated you at home free of violence, bullying, and distraction. Remember when we gathered food and made sure you had a meal. Remember athletes who chose on their own to supplement the income of workers. Those things happened in 2020, right? Generosity, compassion, the beauty and greatness of the human spirit. But we also got to remember these moments in the early quarter of 2020 and throughout 2020 when our freedom and liberty was tested. Remember, our travel was restricted. Some people couldn't even leave their houses. Some people couldn't even drive down the street. Couldn't get on planes, right? Couldn't get into some states. Remember, our small businesses being told to close, preventing an income for ourselves and those who work in our establishments. Remember our religious services being called on to close, which raises the question to me, do we listen to God or do we listen to man? Remember when goods were scarce on the shelves and we had to travel to a multitude of stores? Can somebody still explain the toilet paper incident? Remember our ability to assemble was being strongly encouraged to be with those in our homes, but at a very reduced number. Remember when we were told curfews would be the character of our city. Remember these moments because this is what happens with government. This is what happens with government. It doesn't matter who's in office. It does not matter your political persuasion. Government will seek a justification to extend its reach into your lives. It happened with Republican leaders and Democratic leaders. So I ask you to remember these moments when wise persons suggest government should have more involvement in your life. Now I use wise in quotes, right? In order for such a proposal to effectively exist, government must have control over your life. Now, that seems like conspiratorial, but 1776 gave us evidence, strong government, preventing independence. Government, right? Kept people that look like me in slavery. It was government, right? Legislated that stuff. So remember these moments, kiddos. Sit down with your kids. It was like a moment of 1776, a moment like 1863. Today, it's our moment to remember 2020. Remember that your life is your own because your moment will come one day. We have to share these things with our children, because that moment is going to come in their lives when I'm gone and my generation has passed on. We have to put within our children the knowledge, the arguments, to be able to stand up straight, their shoulders back, their head held high, and be able to say, hey, government, you are coming too far. Hey, if you found something of value, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Find us on Facebook at Dr. Philip Fletcher. Find us on Twitter at Philip Fletcher. And as always, visit us on the website philipfletcher.org.